Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio gave a quick preview Wednesday night of the approach a potential Trump-Vance administration will take when it comes to foreign policy.
We're done buying energy from countries that hate us. We're done sacrificing supply chains to unlimited global trade, and we're going to stamp more and more products with that beautiful label, Made in the USA. Together, we will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. No more free rides for nations that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer.
And joining us now for more is CBS News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Margaret Brennan. She's also the moderator of Face the Nation, and she's in Milwaukee. Margaret, Wednesday night featured a lot of speeches about foreign policy. Trump and Vance's stances on the war in Ukraine are a departure from other congressional Republicans. How do you see that within the party?
Well, this part of the party has caused great concern among American allies. Many of the ambassadors gathered here in Milwaukee to try to tap into this inner circle of policymaking here, into the family that is really encircled the center of the party and is driving a lot of the policy, the Trump family itself, along with J.D. Vance. But it's caused great concern among the lawmakers who just really fought to get $61 billion in aid to Ukraine over the finish line, 80% of that going into U.S. investment to rebuild American stockpiles. And what's so interesting about the specifics of that, and I explained those there for you because those go into many of the districts these people represent and create jobs. So this argument of being against an aid package that would have, for example, really benefited the state of Ohio, where a lot of American tanks are manufactured, is perhaps against J.D. Vance's own self-interest. But he has this worldview that he has expressed, and it's something that caused great concern to Republican leader Mitch McConnell. When I spoke to him back in April, he did a victory lap saying that he saw his ability to get that aid package over the line. It took way too long. He apologized for it taking too long when he spoke to Ukraine's president, but he said in doing so, he had been able to defeat isolationism within his party, at least on this one issue. And he drew a direct line on that aid package and this specific conflict in Ukraine all the way back to the 1930s and 1950s. He sees that as, he sees the Ukraine war now as the extension of the conflicts back then. And this idea that you heard J.D. Vance just express there, which sounds like self-sufficiency, more as self-imposed isolation in a way that endangers the United States. There is a big conflict between that traditional conservative position in terms of American leadership in the world and this sort of populist strain you hear J.D. Vance and Donald Trump repeat.
Picking up on that populist strain, one of the things J.D. Vance says is, I don't want to spend money on Ukraine when we're not taking care of our southern border. He links it to migrant crime, which was, of course, a big topic last night at the convention. That's also migrant crime, the pressure from migrants. That's been an issue across Europe as well in the elections they've been having. It's a sort of a global issue. How do you see that?
It is, John. It's so interesting what you have seen around the world with this migrant wave that we have seen in this hemisphere. This is a hemisphere-wide crisis here throughout North and South America. You're also seeing in Europe. They've been dealing with it since 2015 because of the wars in Afghanistan and Syria. When you have large populations moving at once, it just changes the society. It changes the politics around it. It's happened country after country, France, Germany, in the United States. And the United States isn't any different. One theme that I heard last night in particular is, by the way, not referring to it just as crime, but specifically migrant crime, specifically targeting fear towards the group of people entering the country and doing it repeatedly with specific examples of women who have been victimized. We saw that weaponized in Europe to mobilize female voters, to bring them over to a conservative position, fear of being raped, fear of being murdered. Even though statistically, crimes created by migrants are at a far lower level than crime that we see just by American citizens on a day-to-day basis. So it's a tactic to really target in that you need to be fearful, and the protector, that strong man, if you put him in office, will protect you from those people.
Very briefly, Margaret, you've just got there yesterday, right? Are any sights and sounds that have captured you with fresh eyes since you've gotten there?
John, this is officially the party of Trump. I know we've said that it already was, but this is a family business now. Everything here is about Trump himself, his children, the party itself run by family members. The sign outside the door where we are gathered as the press says, they're not out to get me, they're out to get you. I'm just standing in the way. They, them. This very strong man imagery is throughout this, from the walk-on song last night, It's a Man's World, to what we hear tonight will be American Badass as the song for the walk-on. It's all about this hyper-masculine imagery that evokes a lot of countries, John, that I've covered outside the United States. It's a strong man image. It's a question, though, for the American populace. Does that work here, or does it appeal to the majority of Americans? But today, here at the RNC, it is what has overtaken what used to be the party of Reagan. It is firmly part of the Trump family business.
Margaret Brennan in Milwaukee. Thank you so much, Margaret.